Randy Orton has won War Games for his team, and he's done everyone a favour by keeping the power from Judgment Day. But it's power that he wants for himself. He's RKO'd Seth Rollins, and he wants his world title. But he also wants revenge. Cody and Sami look on stunned, and Orton looks down at Jay and says, "You don't think I forgot, did you?" Jey Uso is one half of the reason Randy Orton was out so long, and he's been put on notice. But Cody is as well on Raw the week after when he's confronted by Seth Rollins, who's blaming him for not only bringing Randy Orton to Raw, which has caused problems, but bringing Jay in as well. But before the argument could get too heated, the heat is on, because the Viper strikes. He's after Rollins again, and that World Championship. But Cody grabs him, he puts his hands on the Viper, and Orton strikes. He hits Cody with an RKO. He's got both down, and he snaps. He annihilates Cody with a chair. And then he turns his attention to Rollins, and he drags the Visionary out to the arena. He throws him in the ring, and then he goes under it, and he grabs a sledgehammer. Orton is deranged, he's unhinged, and he smashes Rollins in the gut. But he isn't done. He wants to line him up for a punt. Jay and Sami both run out, and Orton says, "If you step any closer, I kick his head off." They listen to him, but it's tense, and Jay says, "Hey, you've got beef with me, right, Us? We can settle this next week, whenever you want. We don't need to do this." And Orton listens, but not to Jay, to the voices. Jay and Sami rush the ring, but it's too late. Orton slithers out, and Jay says, "It didn't need to be like that. Next week, let's settle this, Us." Orton surveys the damage from a distance, but also from a distance is Damian Priest backstage, who sees the perfect opportunity. He's going to go and cash in, but as he gets to Gorilla, he gets stopped by Rhea Ripley. She's still not happy about Damian proclaiming that he's the leader of Judgment Day, but also taking the pin in the War Games match itself. She says, "Not tonight. We still need to figure out if you're even worthy anymore." And ominously standing in the distance is Drew McIntyre. Is he aligned with Rhea and Judgment Day more than we think? Well, regardless, Seth is able to avoid the cash-in for now, but Jay isn't looking to avoid Orton the week after. He's on his way to the ring for their match, but it doesn't even start, because as Jay is waiting in the ring, on the Tron, we see the deranged Orton again, and he has Sami Zayn, and he's hurt. He's holding Sami ominously close to the glass, and he says, "I tried to tell you to stay away, both you and Cody. So now, I need to get rid of you." Jay starts running towards the back, but Orton ruthlessly slams Sami Zayn's head through the glass. Jay gets backstage, but the damage is done. Orton slithers away and says, "If you want the same fate, you know where to find me next week. We do this on my terms." It's as cold as ice. And as Randy Orton walks away, and the doctors and Jey Uso descend on Sami Zayn, Orton finds another person affected by his actions. And it's Becky Lynch, and she slaps him in the face and says, "You're a father. You should know better. You're not a man. You're not even a monster. You're a coward." Tell your husband I'm eagerly awaiting his return. Orton walks away from Becky with a spine-chilling message. And he walks into next week where he has his showdown with Jay. And it's a serious fight. Jay has been trying to redeem his past in the bloodline, and this is another step in that journey. But it's a dangerous step, because Orton is going off again. And the numbers of allies are dwindling for Jay. He's essentially on his own, and Orton isn't even concerned about winning the match. He just wants to decimate everybody. And he has the steel stairs precariously above the head of a beaten Jey Uso. Cody saves Jay, and Orton decides to stand down this time, and he says, "You'll save the man who cost you everything. It's nice to know that you are a forgiving man, Cody, because maybe one day you'll find it deep down in your heart to forgive me for what I do to you. And Cody says, you want to try something, Randy? I brought you in. I trusted you. So how about at the Royal Rumble, we find out just how venomous the Viper is. And Orton says, trusting me was your first mistake. Asking for that match is your last. The showdown everyone wanted. Orton versus Rhodes. Once the master and apprentice, now two top stars doing battle. And they're pulling double duty because they're both due to be in the Royal Rumble match later. But this is the most vicious one we've seen. Orton is growing more and more demented every time he's on the screen. And it runs a similar course to the match with Jay. Randy is laying into Cody in typical cold and calculated Viper style. And despite Cody fighting as much as he can, Orton has him in desperate trouble. Orton smashes Cody off the ring post and he's busted open. And Orton rolls him in the ring and he goes to the corner and he's gonna punt him. Orton is sick. He's lost it. Before he can do it, Brandy Rhodes runs out, Cody's wife, and she's screaming at Orton to stop. And he takes a sick pleasure in this. And he saunters over and says, you're smarter than him. Call it. Call the match. Save him. Because he sure as hell can't save himself. Orton goes to the corner. He's threatening to punt him. Brandy mulls it over very quickly and calls the match. The referee immediately calls it off. And Randy Orton wins. But Randy Orton doesn't stop there. He runs at him to try and punt him, but Brandy's able to pull Cody out of the way. Orton is completely evil. He was gonna do it anyway. He slides out of the ring and he starts walking to the back, all while Brandy says to Cody, you need to finish the story. And this isn't it. Randy isn't your story. Randy is your past. The WWE Championship is your future. Cody survives, and it was a good decision from Brandy Rhodes because he takes part in the Royal Rumble match later that night. But also in the match is Randy Orton. And with Sami Zayn getting a little measure of revenge, Cody manages to eliminate Randy Orton. And if you thought Orton was twisted then, now he snaps. He pulls Rhodes out from under the bottom rope and starts beating the hell out of him. He has him down. He RKO's him. And now he really will punt him. Seth is back, and he and Randy get into it. Rollins is all over him, and they fight off all the way up the ramp. Cody avoids the punt again, but the Rumble rages on. Jay finds his brother once again. They both eliminate each other, and they take off on their own WrestleMania journey. Damian Priest is eliminated by Drew McIntyre, which creates a lot of tension there. But ultimately, it's Cody Rhodes who finds a way, despite his eventful night and pulling double duty, to win the Royal Rumble and put himself on track to finish the story with Roman Reigns. But Seth Rollins' story is completely different, and he is committed to getting on the same level as the Demented Viper. They're both somewhat spiraling into a darker place. And Rollins is sitting in a dark room and says, Randy, you think this is about you. You think this is about your return, your vengeance. But it's about mine. It's about legacy. My legacy. You've overstepped the line, Randy. And to be honest, I love it. Let's cross the line together. Because I've got voices too. But Seth isn't the only one to have a dark turn. And Randy is on the hunt. But he isn't hunting Seth for now. He wants to intimidate someone very close to him. He finds Becky Lynch backstage, and she is terrified. Orton is psychotic. He's walking towards her. But before he reaches her, he's taken out by Seth Rollins, and the brawl is on once again. It's all gotten so personal. Orton has crossed the line, and now Rollins wants to do the same. He takes Orton out to the ring, and he grabs a table, and he wants to put Orton through it. But that isn't anywhere near crossing the line. Setting it on fire is. Orton only just escapes, and he's now realizing that Seth is on the same level. And Seth says, "You're a big man standing up to my wife and not me." Thing is, she'd probably still kick your ass just like I'm going to. If you wanted a title shot, all you had to do was ask Randy. Perth, Australia. Elimination Chamber. I eliminate you. Seth maniacally laughing at Orton as he watches the flames burn behind him. And Orton is starting to realize that Seth is spiraling just like him. And it doesn't bode well for the WWE because these two are going to tear the whole company apart. So much so that their antics force General Manager Adam Pearce to make their match at Elimination Chamber a steel cage match. And yes, that means an Elimination Chamber and a steel cage match on the same show. No escaping to win, only pinfall or submission. And when the show arrives and both men enter the cage, it does not disappoint. They beat the holy hell out of each other. You can feel how personal it is. Randy has brought the family into it. It's contained chaos, but it's brutal. And it's a real taste of the Elimination Chamber match for later in the night, but both men also get a taste of blood. It's a genuine battle of attrition. They throw it all at each other, and both men collide, and both men are down, barely moving. Nothing left. Damian Priest, he's gonna scale the cage and make this a triple threat match. This is his moment. He gets to ringside and boom! He gets wiped out with a claymore. Drew McIntyre stops him in his tracks, and we find out it was all at the request of Rhea Ripley, and it seems as though Damian has been ejected from Judgment Day. But the drama doesn't end there, because Seth Rollins has managed to climb his way up. He's standing on the top rope, and Orton's still trying to get to his feet. Rollins leaps off and nails him with a stomp. He purely just collapses in exhaustion on top of Orton, and he escapes with the win. Seth defies the odds. Seth defeats the Viper by the skin of his teeth. But this is the tipping point. Everything we've seen so far from Orton completely pales in comparison to what comes next. You talk about crossing the line, and I'm glad you did, because it makes what's left of my conscience feel better about what happens next. I came back to get revenge. I came back to get that world championship, and I'm gonna do whatever, and I mean whatever it takes. You did it to yourself, Seth. Cameraman, follow me. From the crowd comes Seth Rollins, and yet again the fight is on. Not even defeating him in a steel cage could stop Orton from his pursuit. They've erupted into yet another chaotic brawl. Seth tries to kick Orton in the gut for a stomp, but Orton catches him, spins him, and nails him with an RKO. Now he's got him down. Then danger increases. A line has been crossed that should never be crossed. And now Orton goes to the outside and he grabs handcuffs from under the ring. and he handcuffs Seth to the rope. This is eerily similar to something we've seen before. Orton, with Seth in the corner, goes to the opposite side and he says, "Do I have my rematch, Seth? I'd hate to have to cross the line." And Seth screams, "I'm gonna kill you, Orton." "You leave her alone. You've got your match. Whenever you want." And Orton says, "That's the smartest decision you've ever made. WrestleMania it is. But while we're here, let me cross the line anyway." Orton is lining up Becky. He's gonna punt her. He runs off, but he stops. And instead, right in front of Seth, leans down and he kisses her on the cheek. And this infuriates Rollins. He's going crazy. And Orton slides out of the ring, leaving Becky and Seth there. Orton has more than crossed the line, and it prompts a massive response on the eve of WrestleMania. We find out that after kicking Damian Priest out of Judgment Day, Rhea has orchestrated Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest for the briefcase at WrestleMania. So with that currently out of the equation, it opens the door for Seth and Randy to have a clean run at the show of shows. And Adam Pearce has ordered that Randy Orton and Seth Rollins aren't to be in the same building until the show, giving Seth the night off to be at home with his wife. But Rollins does not heed the advice. He shows up to the arena and Pearce has security everywhere, but Rollins doesn't care. He comes armed and he bursts his way through the arena, wiping out all the security in his path. Orton is in the ring, ready to cut a promo, but Seth bursts out from the back and he's calling him on. It's about to erupt all over again, and Orton makes his way down the ramp and the brawl is on again. All the emotion has spilled out, all the hatred is spewing from both, and as they're getting separated by staff, Adam Pearce bursts out and yells, "Enough of this! There is clearly no other way to settle it. Something has to give. You obviously can't stand each other. So at WrestleMania, you're gonna fight until only one man is left. Last man standing match." Only one way to win. Incapacitate your opponent. It's come to this. After everything they've put each other through, the mental and physical torment, the hatred and vitriol has spilled into a last man standing match on the grandest stage of them all. They fight in all corners of the arena. They hammer each other with everything they can find. There's some close calls. Orton hits a hangman DDT on a chair, but Seth gets up at 7. Seth hits Randy with a brutal powerbomb onto his problematic back on the ring post for a count of 9. Neither man wants to wilt. Neither man will give up. It's pride, it's hatred, it's personal, and both men are down. But an ally, someone who is close to the situation, gets involved. Becky sets up a table and she yells at Seth to get up. But she also says, "Burn it down." Seth is gonna end all of this, but Orton counters. He gets out, but it's precarious. Orton throws Rollins back in the ring and they fight near the ropes, and it's perilously close to the edge. Orton throws him over and the flames are now lapping at Seth's ankles. But Orton, one final time, wants to cross the line. He grabs Seth and he RKO's him through the flaming table. The crowd is in disbelief. Orton somehow peels himself off the ground just in time for the 10 count, and he defeats Seth Rollins. Orton wins his 15th World Championship. He completes his mission, and the Viper slithers his way to the top of the mountain.